Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
So here we have with us this evening a young girl. I know her ever since she was 3 years of age, and then over the years I've seen her evolve. And she is a student in one of the highly reputed schools that we have here in Calcutta. So a couple of days back, when I was having a word with her, she said that TC, because of circumstances, situations, and getting to know the news that we have, that we read these days, I've become skeptical to even put up my picture on Facebook. And she gave me the reason as to why she feels this. And I just felt that, like today we do not have an option but to live in the cyber age, and we have a permanent residence in cyberspace. And if a young person feels so threatened, then what kind of security are we providing for the future? So I'm glad that Moyuki is here. Moyuki, now this is your platform. You have this panel with you here with a lot of experience. And whatever you feel like asking any of us here, feel free. This conversation, this discussion is because of the word that we were having. All yours.
Right. So I'll go into why this actually came about, given recent developments as well as, increased involvement in social media, increased screen time due to the lockdown. Everything's happening online, right? Zoom meetings the way we are now. And it's sort of hypocritical. I said, I'm afraid to put up my picture up on social media, on Facebook. Here I am in a live discussion where my face is up and broadcast everywhere. So the reason why I'm saying this is because there's definitely now a question of doubt as to what can happen with information that we put out, especially our faces, especially as females. I'm not trying to target anything, but there is definitely a question of insecurity. And it is increased to a certain degree due to recent revelations. It's a reprehensible crime, and I think it is very important that we address it, because that's when we target the root cause of the issue. So I would like to pose a question to Ms. Bharwani, if you would kindly reply,
Sure.
which is, sometimes after what happened, the recent revelations, I have many juniors in school. So they asked me, and if they actually have stories of how they are victims of cyber abuse or lewd comments, and what to do with regards to that. For example, I can tell you, I have an Instagram account and I don't even have my face on there. It's just a hazy picture as part of a display, and the rest is just floral art. I still receive lewd comments. So when someone feels threatened or violated with that, what can you tell them? Ma'am.
So the question is right here, Mayuki, is one is the aspect of your own, the boundaries that we want to draw for ourselves, right? The moment you put something out in cyberspace, you know that there is a chance of it, whatever, whether it's being misused or whether it's being used in a different way. The thing is that we have to be very judicious and cautious and careful about this. And I find that what happens today is that we're not using social media for the tool that it's meant to be used, right? And so when we start getting comments like that, the thing is that either we need to start having boundaries on how we need to address it. That means, what am I going to say? Protect myself if something like this does happen. So this is a conversation that in fact needs to be done much before, which is where I come in into prevention. Everything that we talk about is happening after the incident, which is what is alarming me a lot, is that these conversations are not happening at home. These conversations are not happening in schools. We are not being taught or guided how do we deal with this, because it's like almost saying that now this is a world out there, now you go navigate yourself. But the thing is that the guidance that starts from home and the guidance that starts from other institutions needs to be put into place first before we start dealing with the secondary aspects of it. Does that make sense to what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Alokika. So, Ma'am Sunita Sen is here. Ma'am, we have just heard Alokika, who is here from Bombay, and she just answered Moyuki her question. She spoke about institutes and institutes giving guidelines. Being the principal of one of the most reputed schools in the city that we have here, will you tell us a bit about these guidelines that you think that a school can set? And more than setting the guidelines, how do you think as a principal you can monitor these guidelines? Especially when it comes to behavior on, like in the cyberspace? Yes,
The first important thing that, can you all hear? The first important thing that I am going to highlight is the relationship that the parents should have with their children. I think it's an open relationship that they need to have at every stage of a child's life. And this social media boom starts in the children very young, when they are 9-10 years of age, and they want to have a Facebook account, and they want to have an Instagram account. And most of the times we've seen that people use false accounts and false pictures, or false names, even though they give their pictures. And many a times we know that the parents are not aware of it at all. And in the pretext of doing school work and school project, they misuse the social media just because the friend has an account and I too need to have an account. So in this process, I personally feel that the first thing that I would like to highlight is have an open relationship with your child. Make the child comfortable in your presence to be able to talk to the child about anything that the child wants to know. That's the first important thing that I think we all should keep in mind. The second thing is, we have to explain to the children why it is important to protect themselves from this kind of a social media, which can come of assistance to people as well as it can be misused. And when it is misused, then there are times when things go out of hand. And so that it doesn't go out of hand, it is important that the parents are made aware of the kind of dealings we are doing on the social media, and to protect their reputation, to protect their personal information, so that their identities are not stolen for any kind of a misuse. I think it is a little difficult for the school to monitor, but it is extremely important for the parents to monitor, because most of it is happening at home. And moreover, there are times, in situations where we feel very uncomfortable when parents come to us for assistance and say that, they are so addicted, the whole night they are on the phone, and they ask for our help to keep the phones back so that they cannot use the phone, and they can get de-addicted from it. So it's important that, rather than setting guidelines, setting the relationship is more important.
Thank you, ma'am, for talking about the relationship aspect over here. We have with us...
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So my question is, ma'am, do you think sex education is important in schools? I'm saying
very important.
Of a student,
very important.
Generally, we receive something which is more biological, reproductory, and in ICSE we said
absolutely
more on tubectomy and vasectomy, because this comes in the
no. This is
more on consent,
absolutely
gaslighting, such issues.
Sex education is a very, very important education which should take place right from a very young age. And it is not that, only for the adolescent sex education should be restricted. There are various phases of it, and the teachers as well as the parents should be very comfortable in talking about the various issues of the sex education. Because only when you are aware that you are being, misused in public, that, whether it be in terms of sexting or whether it be in terms of, passing lewd comments, everything about it, if we are absolutely aware, then only can we deal with the issues. So sex education is definitely a very important aspect of our education.
Thank you, ma'am. So it's very interesting that, Moyuki, you bring up the issue of sex education, and we're talking about, like discipline in the cyberspace and cyber etiquette. So I'll now ask Kanak, who is here with us. Kanak is the director of Jaipuriya School of Change that we have in our country, and a father. And so Kanak, we have heard from Ma'am Sunita Sen, how important it is to kind of have that relationship between a parent and a child. And that is one of the kind of root reasons as to why we feel that sometimes a child goes haywire in her kind of moral ethics and the way the child would conduct himself in the cyberspace. What kind of conversation do you have with your daughter, A, as a parent, and B, definitely as someone from the education industry? And what kind of advice will you be giving to parents? And more than the advice bit, is there a solution that we can come up with in case you have a good equation with your daughter, you feel comfortable discussing things with your daughter, and there are parents who don't? So is there some sort of a solution that you can come up with for this? Over to you, Kanak.
Thanks, TC. I think I'm going to take a sort of leave out of Ma'am Sen's book and continue with the conversation from there. The kind of environment that a person gets growing up, a child gets growing up, plays a very important role in the way she or he would shape up. I've been lucky, and the reason I said Ma'am Sen is that because she was my teacher when I was in school, and she would encourage us to explore new ideas. She would always tell us that do things that interest you, do things that you love, and that is one of the major reasons that we could have more open relationships with our parents. We could talk to them going back home that, okay, this is what my teacher is saying, and it was a very important role that Ma'am Sen and our other teachers played in our lives, and we could sort of do things that we wanted to do, essentially, getting into education or doing theater or working with an environment company. Those are things that at one time was not looked at very kindly in our society, but now these are avenues, and the world has changed, and you have to be relevant. You have to catch up with a lot of things that the world around the world is happening. I'm so glad Mayuki pointed out right at the start when she said that, at one end I'm saying that I'm scared of putting up my pictures, but I might be looking like a hypocrite when I'm on a Zoom call which is broadcast to the whole world. I'm so glad that she pointed out, because that balance has to be struck. And instead of sort of throwing the baby with the bath water, you have to look at a balanced view. You have to look at the good aspects of social media. Today, my daughter can connect with her grandmother who's in Calcutta. I'm in New Delhi, and she can connect using this very platform without feeling insecure, without feeling that she's at a distance. That's a good aspect of social media. That's a good aspect of technology. Why not have kids get access to something like that? To answer your question, TCS, the kind of conversations and discussions I have with my daughter, we have a good relationship. We discuss a lot of things. She's just 10. So it's more about her conversation. It's more about finding out from her what interests her, what drives her, what are, now she's understanding fashion. She's understanding this, something called gossip, because kids are talking about it in the class. She understands that there is a concept of boyfriend and girlfriend, and, she would talk to us about it that, okay, this guy told me that, would you be my GF? And at times it's hilarious when you listen to your own child talk about it. But at the other end, it's also important to give her that space to have that conversation, not shun her, but talk to her about it. Now she's too young for social media, but
I'll just interrupt here, Kanak. So sorry about this. I'll just interrupt. Will you, for the benefit of all of us, will you just tell Sarah's age? How old is Sarah? Will you just tell us her age, and so that we have a better understanding as to what you are saying here, and why are you sharing this?
She's 10, TC. She's 10. She's just 10 right now. So she's too young to be on social media. But wearing my educator's hat, educationist hat, we encourage social media usage in a responsible manner. So you will not be having social media in junior classes. It has to be age appropriate. We actually tell students the good and bad part of social media very, very frankly. We have sex education happening in our schools at a fairly young age for kids, so that they're aware about things. And we do not shy away from counseling of kids. We do not shy away from having files of kids, having the kids speak to the school counselor on a regular basis. And right now, 90% of the conversation is about social media. That what Mayuki was sharing, that, she's stalked on social media, where she's getting lewd comments on social media. We have those issues coming in. And instead of shying away from it, we address it head on. we try to make our children more responsible about it rather than saying that, okay, do not be on social media. Because let's be honest, when you and I were in school, social media did not exist. Amazon did not exist. Google did not exist. It is there right now. And it is a way of life. It's becoming a hygiene factor. It's better to use it well instead of saying that this is a bad thing. Don't throw the baby with the bathwater.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kanak. Very interesting panelists that we have here this evening. Since you talk about, like lewd comments on in the cyberspace, very interesting panelist that we have here is someone who specializes in cyber crimes. And we have Advocate Ruhail Chaudhary here. So I'll be asking Ruhail to kind of throw some light on this, that, do we have separate laws for youngsters who are kind of, like found guilty of participating in what one will call or what one will qualify as cybercrime? Do we have separate laws for them? And if a young person feels threatened in the cyber age and in the cyberspace, then what are the ways that, like the person can either lodge a complaint, or what kind of remedy is available for the youngster? Over to you, Ruhail, if you can please tell us, if you can please throw some light on this. Ruhail, I think you need to unmute yourself first. We can't hear you. You need to unmute.
Yes, now is it okay? Can you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now okay? Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
See, what I'll do is I'll try to make it very practical, considering that a lot of young students will be hearing this, and it is actually for the benefit of the young people and their parents. That is the purpose of this discussion, as I understand. So what is very important is to understand what kind of legal remedies are there for protection, right? So coming to that, first thing is the Information Technology Act itself is very young in India. It was only passed in our parliament in the year 2000. So compared to all other laws, we have the IPC and CRPC and everything to mitigate the legal problems relating to other crimes. The Information Technology Act itself is very young, and it is still in some kind of experimental stage. It is definitely not exhaustive. It is definitely not covering everything. And as we know, the information technology itself is very dynamic. Technology is changing. It is changing. It is progressing very fast. So definitely the law is not keeping in pace with that. So there are a lot of challenges, a lot of hurdles. Information Technology Act again by itself does not cover most of the things that we are discussing completely. So whenever there are any crimes relating to information technology, which are covered by Information Technology Act, they are generally merged with IPC. Because Information Technology Act cannot cover everything, because every year, every month, every day things are changing in IT platform. So that is one we have to understand. Second, I will share a very interesting fact, because general perception about Information Technology Act or police dealing with Information Technology Act, whenever we have a complaint, any young person or even an adult has a problem relating to issues in Facebook, in other social media, which are expected to be covered by Information Technology Act. Generally, we do not get much of response from police in all types. And the first perception we get is our police is not very proactive in dealing with information technology related crimes. So there is a reason behind that, and it is very important for us to know also and to understand why it is so. It's very interesting. I'll share with you. Now, Section 78 of Information Technology Act says that only police officers in the rank of inspector can investigate into complaints relating to information technology. Now, as we understand, we have a very senior police officer also in the panel. Any police station will generally have one or two inspector rank police officers. And there will be around 14 to 15 or 18 sub-inspectors who are basically investigating officers. Now, Information Technology Act, when it was drafted in the year 2000, the reason why the people who drafted this law, they mentioned that only inspector rank people can only investigate. Perhaps their thinking was only senior officers or a level of police officers will only have the expertise to deal with such crimes, since these are highly sophisticated crimes. And at that time, what they thought of was mainly financial crimes, bank frauds, and things like that. These kind of things that in Facebook and WhatsApp people can get harassed, and other kind of things that we are seeing now, those were perhaps not even been imagined at that time while drafting the law. So now we have generally every big city, they will have a cyber crime. They will have a cyber police station. As in Calcutta, we have one cyber crime police station in Lal Bazar. Now, generally, if anyone walks in, they may not have the expertise. So the good thing is we can directly go and lodge your complaint in. Similarly, all other metro cities will have their own cyber police stations in police headquarters. So the process is you can also directly lodge a complaint in Cyber Information Technology Act. And you also have the option of going to the local police station. But in local police station, of course, since they are not the subject experts, so you may have to do a lot of extra explaining. They may not be, if it is in a remote location, they may not be perhaps aware of Information Technology Act. So it becomes difficult for a person who's going to lodge a complaint to explain things to them. So it is suggested that whenever there is a problem, especially if you are residing in a main city, you should always approach the cyber police station in the police headquarters. Now, even every district SP's office will also have a cyber cell. So it is very much there. But again, the problem is there only the senior officers can deal. And every police station will have 1 or 2 inspectors. So basically, no FIRs are generally drawn immediately. Only inquiries are made, because the officers in cybercrime or in police stations, they can only inquire. There is a difference between inquiry and investigation. Investigation is when a FIR is drawn and the police gets into the merit of it, and they start the investigation. So that generally does not have, not because our police is not willing to do it, but it is only because of this Section 78 of IT Act, which prohibits the investigating officers or the SI level police to investigate. Now, if you see the ratio, perhaps we'll have 1 police inspector for more than 10 lakh people citizens in a city. So just imagine 10 lakh people, if there is 1 inspector to deal, to investigate the cases, then, the police public ratio, it is very important to understand. So you will not get that kind of response. So you need to understand the reason why police is not able to proactively deal with each and every complaint that we may have if we approach them. So this is
right.
One.
Thank you. Yeah.
And yes.
I have a question.
To complete that,
Please,
I'll just come. You have given us one of them, and you were going to say, before I interrupted, you can complete the information that you're giving us. Ruhail? Can you hear me? Okay, I don't know. I think there's a hang in the system.
Yes.
Okay. I think there was a hang in your system, Ruhail. Okay. Good.
Can I have a
now
word?
is it okay?
Just hold on to your thought. Can you hear me, Ruhail? Okay. Just hold on to your thought. I'll just come back to you.
I can hear.
Okay. Good. We also have with us Mr. Ravindran, and he's the IPS officer and the CRPF executive that we have here. So, sir, we have just heard from Ruhail, like the act that pertains to cybercrime. But what I'd like to know from you is that when a youngster who kind of, faces crime of this nature, how easy, how accessible is the police or the cybercrime department? Like Ruhail has just kind of given us his entire kind of, he shared his expertise and he shared his knowledge with us. Now, it is one thing for us to have the information, but how practical is it? Say, for instance, like how we heard from Mayuki, supposing she or her friends would need to kind of go and lodge a complaint, then how best can that be done? Is there a phone number available? Is it easy to access? How can this be done?
Okay. Since Mr. Rohila, right? His name is Rohit.
Rohit, yes. Rohit.
Who talked about IT Act. Of course, he mentioned about all the one section and about the police not adequately trained in investigation of these kind of cases. To a larger extent, he is he spoke the truth. As he rightly said, this act is very new. So even police is getting trained about this act and implementation of this act. So we are also training our persons in terms of investigation and detection. Having said that, as he rightly pointed out, every district police office and every city police has a separate cyber cell. My request to all the schools, I know there are some principals and correspondents from various education institutions and students are also there. They should first log on to the website of all the state polices and record the numbers of the cyber cell and circulate it widely in your schools. Basically, you have to create an awareness that this kind of a cell is available for you. Let me give you one example. Especially in Telangana, they have come up specifically with two programs. One is called a SHE team, SHE, SHE teams, and second one is Bharosa. These two programs have won accolades throughout the globe for a simple reason. Whenever a youth, a teenager, a girl rings up that particular number which has been put up on the website, within 5 minutes the police goes to her, and she is brought to the office of the SHE team or the Bharosa team. She is provided with the legal aid, and her FIR is done there itself, and she don't need to go anywhere, run around across the city, where to register the FIR, what to do. And they investigate the case right from the day of initiation of the FIR. And they also provide legal assistance and also provide security also. And when the case comes to the court, she doesn't need to go to the court to give her witness or to give her statement. That also is being done in camera. They have a separate facility in that Bharosa office. So this particular scheme of Telangana police has to be copied by all the states. As far as my knowledge goes, Karnataka police has done it. Kerala police has done it. Most of the South Indian states have done these things. North of Vindhyas, people are developing. Of course, Delhi police is having it. Since I'm in Delhi, I know about it. But people are not aware of these things. So the basic thing which I would like to request to all of you is please create an awareness. We are also doing from our part. So awareness is the one. And second, I would like to say, based on my experience, see, there are so many antivirus softwares to be installed in your systems. Since students are listening to me, as a police officer, I would like to say this.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hold on. I have not finished.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, please.
There are so many antivirus softwares to be installed in the system. But what I would like to request to all the students is antivirus system has to be installed in your minds, not on your computers or laptops or mobiles. You have been given a wonderful machine here by the God. You should be able to understand what is a fake news, what is a phishing, who is trying to stalk you, you should be able to do that. I would say prevention is better than cure. So beware, and better to prevent all these things rather than getting into the trap of getting into a out of my experience I can tell you most of the girls are getting trapped by getting into dating websites. Please, if you can not get into those websites, it will be beneficial to you and your respect. This is my simple.
So thank you very much for making us aware of the fact that like the conscious element plays a very important part. That when it comes to antivirus softwares, it's actually there in our mind first. That we need to distill this. And here,
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Right. So my question is taking a more practical aspect to it, something that is not that, say something as simple as a very hateful post or something like lewd comments. What we generally resort to is reporting the account that has made them using the software that we are using. So any sort of Facebook, Instagram, whichever site that we are using, we report that account. But what is to stop that person from creating it again under some other ID? So how do we bring a permanent end to it is my question.
Good. Moyuki, just hold on to your question and I will definitely come, ask us to surely address this issue. We also have a couple of attendants who are kind of, here and they have been posting their questions. Nivedita, you're here. You have been working a lot with youngsters and we have seen how instrumental theater is when it comes to kind of not only for social change, but in grooming young minds. We have a question posted by one of us here is that a 13-year-old, is it fair that she has access to social media? And is there any age that you think that one should kind of follow when it comes to having access to social media? Moyuki, hold on to your question because it is very pertinent and I'm going to come back to it. But before we kind of go to meet that question, I'll just ask Nivedita to please throw some light on this.
I think I'm going to take something from what Kanak has said, that everything needs a balance. And yes, there are certain rules which a country or a society has to follow. Like you cannot vote before a particular age or drink before a particular age. So there are some broad guidelines which need to be followed. At the same time, we cannot herd people into groups. This is one thing you realize when you've worked in schools in an advisory capacity or in theater or as a psychotherapist, that people cannot be grouped. One 13-year-old can be much more mature than another 13-year-old. Similarly, parents cannot be grouped because the parent's way of dealing with the child depends on the parent's background. So if you really start delving into questions at that rate, then we will see that it is very difficult to put things in black and white. It's always gray. So there are some parents, if you look, they have had a childhood where the father has always maintained a distance from the son or the daughter or from the children because he was the head of the family and that was part of his aura. So in that case, trying to convince that father that you have to have a friendly relationship with your child gets the answer like my father never did. So you really have to understand the kind of background the parent is coming from. Whereas there are parents who are wonderfully comfortable with their children and discuss everything. So again, here there is a matter of categories. So whether a 13-year-old should be allowed to have a social media account or not falls into this category. And making a rule which is applicable to everybody brings in more rebellion than you don't understand me. And another thing which Kanak said, two things I really liked about what he said, is the lecturing aspect. And I have this joke I tell everybody that two young people get married and they go to the hospital and they get a baby back. And then one of them is Shivji and the other is Parvati. And they start lecturing from the next day to their little child. This is right and that is wrong. Who told you? So the whole idea is to try to start the system of awareness right from the parent. And if we start it from the child, do you understand that what the schools are doing is being undone at home? And how long does the child stay in school? So there might be a very good teacher, a very good counselor, a very good therapist working on the child, and then the child goes home and whatever has been done is undone. When a 42-year-old comes to my chamber and his marriage is breaking up, and I tell him, see, you know, you're not trying to listen to her point of view. And then he bursts out and he says, I have seen my grandfather treat my grandmother like this, and my father treat my mother like this. हमारे घर में तो इसको लेके इतना बखेड़ा नहीं हुआ करता था. What is wrong with this woman? It doesn't start once. It has to start. So when a girl from that kind of a house comes to a school, gets into theatre, is becoming very aware, then she quietly comes and says, in my house, this will not be allowed. Girls don't do this. So there is a constant clash of what is being told in school or outside or in theatre and what is happening, and what is actually happening at home. So sometimes the work which the psychiatrists, therapists, teachers, principals are struggling to do is again being undone at home. It's a clash of interests. Sometimes I feel we should start right from the source, make the parents aware. I've had children who really want to do theatre and do something with their lives, and the mother has quietly come and told me her father is not allowing. He's saying, এত টাকা খরচা করে, I'm saying it in Bengali and I'll say it in English, এত টাকা খরচা করে কি দরকার, বিয়ে তো দিতেই হবে। এই জিনিসগুলোর উপর খরচা, means what is the use of spending so much money on a daughter who's going to be married away? इसको theatre सिखा रहे हो, communication सिखा रहे हो, क्या काम आएगा? नौकरी तो करनी नहीं है इसको तो. And that mother is heartbroken because she wanted to do it and she really wanted to see through her daughter, and the daughter is talented. So you see, we are like a small dot. All the people here, if I draw a big circle on a board, all the people who are here, they will form a little dot in the corner of it. And this small little dot is trying to deal with that whole circle.
No, but thank you, Nivedita ji. This is really very informative. And going by what views that you have shared about how important it is for the parent, because that is where it lies, you know, that is where the roots are. We have Mr. Amitava Mohan here with us. Mr. Mohan, I'd like to know from your experience with the parents as such, are they at all willing to go for a session of counseling? Are they willing to kind of, I won't say seek help, but are they even willing to understand the need for them to kind of, you know, like talk to somebody with more experience and expertise to kind of, you know, like deal with children, to communicate with children?
Thank you so much. And it's really been a privilege to hear many expert opinions. And the point that you have raised just now, that are parents willing to get expert guidelines? Yes, they do. They do. And it is, you know, in the, if I would say decade by decade, trends are changing. I think about 2.5 decades back, people were not that aware. Today, things are very different. The issue is not about them seeking help. The issue is them realizing that there is a need for help. That realization doesn't dawn them until the time something has happened to them or to some nearby. I think that is where the challenge is. And I would like to take a little liberty on expanding on this, because we are all here because Mayuki is representing a fear of young generation, and we are here to take care of her fear and many other people's fear. And maybe a few things I would like to point out on various perspective issues that you have raised so far. There are more number of good people in this world than few people. So we should not be taking our decision to live in that word and not to live in that word just because of the misdeeds of few people. Second thing I would like you to know that in this panel right now, there are 13 more people I'm interacting with right now who were not part of my word till yesterday, till about an hour back. Now they are part of my space because I've made a choice to connect with these people, and I'm connecting with them online in this virtual world. I have exercised the choice to be here. I had a choice not to be here. And I think that is very important for people in your generation to understand and use that discretion, that where I should be and where I should not be. If you will use indiscretion to be anywhere and everywhere just because you can scroll in the virtual world without restriction, that is where comes the issue of self-restraint that needs to be exercised. And I think Mr. Ravindran has beautifully talked about installing that virus on our humanware. We need to understand that where that filtering has to come. And I think a lot of education needs to be done in that regard. In fact, allow me to bring some of the very, some examples which are being, headlines lately. We talk about boys' locker room being in news in a big way lately. And then there was a comorbid case about Snapchat, this particular, which got, in Delhi, and a lot of issues were generated around that. Now, there were some people who created that space, that group. And there are other people who made a choice to be there and belong to that group. Right? These boys' locker room or that other Snapchat or many other such forums. Now, it is you and I who are exercising a choice to be in that space. And that is where we are deciding to get into the problem also, right? And, if I just elaborate on one of the cases that in the Delhi Snapchat particular, Mr. Ravindra will correct me if any data and statistics is wrong, because my source is all media in this lockdown, no first-hand information. There was this group ID created where by the name Siddharth. And the person said that, would you like to ask another fellow in the group, would you, let's rape naming a girl. Later on, it was found out it was actually that girl who had initiated that group and by that dummy named Siddharth and created that space. The point is, the child who has been asked that would you like to join me into it, he said no, he used his discretion and moved away from it. But there are others who exercise a choice to get into that thrill. And that is where the difference comes in our safety. This दुनिया में बहुत अच्छे लोग भी हैं और बुरे लोग भी हैं. The virtual space is a reflection of the real space that we have. You cannot decide to run away from the real space. So is the virtual space, which is our reality. It is not about fearing it. It is about educating us how to deal with it. That is very, very important in the current scenario. We are talking about information technology. Let's remove the word for the while as technology. I think information is power. We need to inform ourselves, educate ourselves how to make a judicious use of the technology and the virtual space that is available to us. That is going to give us the security. That is going to give us the safety at the same time. I would also like to point out here that two kinds of people we need to talk about. One, of course, a lot of people have talked about preventive mechanisms, sex education, and other aspects to it. I would like to also talk about the psychopathology of it. Being a psychologist, I would like to see these people who are indulging into this kind of a behavior, creating such groups, are, either they are delinquents, so the police should deal with that. It should be reported. And they should be dealt as delinquents if they are below 18. If they are above 18, they are criminals. So if it is, we are talking about criminals, the law will take its own course. But when we are talking about, there are certain people who are psychologically aberrated. They are obsessed with the sexual obsession, and there is an objectification of women that is taking place. And objectification of women is not only taking place by the male gender. This particular girl who is an example in the Delhi Snapchat case is a reflection. objectification of women is not only done by a single gender. It is, woman is looked at as an object of beauty and lust or whatever. That psyche is becoming a problem. And when we are talking about education and sex education in schools and generation of awareness in schools, it is not just about sex education. It's about bringing about a behavioral shift, the thought process change, the respect for the social norms. I think that would be very important aspect, and that is where our safety is in our hands.
Thank you so much, sir. Mayuki, you can now direct your question that you had. Do you want to kind of direct it to any one of the panelists, or
I could leave it open. I just have one point, that I don't believe crime is gendered. Crime is reprehensible. That's it. Crime is crime. No matter who does it, man, woman, transgender, third gender, it doesn't matter. Crime is a crime. And
that's
the last
exactly
thing,
what Mr. Mohan just said. You're right. It is not confined to any gender. But going by your
my previous question was from a very practical aspect. What do we do when it comes to what we resort to generally is reporting on account? But what's to stop a person from creating it under a fake ID once again?
So
I'm not directing it at anyone.
Yes, sorry?
I'm not directing it at anyone, but if anyone could answer.
No, fine. So I'll just tell you, so the whole purpose of this entire conversation, this discussion was solutions, like how do we come up with solutions? And I'm really glad that our cyberspace experts have given us some guidelines to follow. We have heard from the those who are from the education industry telling us that, like, what are the kind of guidelines to follow for teachers, for parents, the responsibility that we have. And of course, I mean, like, one thing it is to kind of discuss. Another thing it is to how practical are they? Smita ma'am, you have been kind of...
Tathagata, can I just say one thing which Mr. Amitabh Mohan said, which is very, very good. You need to make the choice yourself. You cannot change other people, but you can work on yourself. So you make the choice what to do and what not to do. So if we look for solutions, Mayuki, to answer you, as to if somebody has done something, what is the way to stop him from doing it again? I don't really think there is a way, because he can always make another thing. The thing is that you can ever stop accepting from such a person, or the first inclination of discomfort you get, block. So if the things lie in your hands, it's your choice. That's what I like about Mr. Mohan, what he said. It's my choice, nobody else's.
Tathagata, can I just add to Mayuki's query that she's raised here? And I would like Mr. Rohel or Ravindran to build on it. Mayuki, I would also like you to know that in the legal process for school-going children below age 18 who legally are defined as children, there's an act called POCSO, right? Prevention of Children Against Sexual Offense and Sexual
Yes, very
your generation needs to be very aware of it. And there, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Rohel will correct me, there is an Article 67B, which also covers the IT provisions in the same, which is talking about even these kind of lewd comments and remarks which are becoming a stressor directed towards an individual are covered into it, and I'm sure Ravindran or Rohel would probably elaborate on that for your benefit and people of your age group as well.
We will, as I said earlier, that we will need more time for this conversation to go on, and that is what YMI would also like to do, kind of have a series of such conversations.
I will quickly answer the question. I think the main question that she asked, the young panelist asked right now, identity theft is, I think, what she's referring to. There are people in cyber world who are trying to make fake accounts, so anyone can fall victim. Today, someone can create an ID with TC's photograph, Tathagata's photograph, and name it Tathagata Chaudhary, and can start doing a whole lot of wrong activities. So I think that is what she was trying to refer to. So identity theft is definitely one of the most common crimes in cyberspace, and there is proper provisions in the Information Technology Act, and it is considered to be a serious crime. So if anyone faces, in fact, it should be taken as a serious issue. If you see that someone else is using your fake ID, you should never ignore it. Ignoring could be inviting a big trouble for yourself anytime, because someone is using your ID, your photograph, your name. So you should immediately kind of take action and report it to police. And of course, there is another thing you should do is, whatever platform it is, whether it is Facebook, whether it is WhatsApp, you should also inform the authorities so that they can put down, they do the investigation. You can report it online and they will do the investigation and they will immediately block it. So these are the two things you should immediately do. Contact the authorities of the application, whether it is Facebook authorities, WhatsApp authorities. Try to get it stopped online and also report it to police.
Thank you so much for that, and that is really something that I really feel that Moyuki, to kind of answer your question here. So if we are kind of seeing that the panelists, they are telling us that like a lot depends on us. What are we doing about it? Here, I really feel that on your part, there is a certain responsibility to kind of, when you feel something like this, to actually make that effort to go and report. Now, how feasible is that for a student who has so much to kind of actually deal with, and the psychological pressure that comes along with that as well, to kind of go ahead and kind of, report something like this? We have with us Smita here from Ye Mera India. Ma'am, not only as a panelist here, but also as a mother, if your child comes and reports of an incident of this nature to you, how kind of, are you actually going to go ahead and make a complaint? Are you going to go and kind of, go and report something of this nature? Or are you going to just kind of, tell your child that we have seen most parents, they try to make peace with the child, saying that, okay, fine, you don't have to pay much attention to this. These things happen. And then a very kind of, common adage is there, men will be men, boys will be boys. Not that I'm making it very gender specific, but what do you think from your organization and also as a parent, how much do you think that you will actually want to make a difference to a situation of this nature? Ma'am, you need to unmute yourself, ma'am.
Yeah, firstly, as you rightly said, if my child comes to me with such a problem, firstly, definitely I will try to have a one-to-one talk with her and try to pacify things for the child at a child's level, because for the child, that is the first thing that is foremostly required for him. And I feel it is not depending upon the age of the child. See, as we know that before 18, they are not supposed to have their accounts. But as we can see the trend, we see children who are around 12, 13, 14, who are having accounts and who are there on Facebook, on TikTok, or everywhere. So, it's actually, it is a very, very dire situation. And if something like this happens, definitely we have to firstly make the child aware. And I would definitely like to keep my child away from that as goes the legal aspects. Because definitely I think it will become too much for a child to bear, firstly. So firstly, at the child's level, definitely I would try and make her understand that, these are your boundaries, try to be within them. And these are the things that, you can take care of. As rightly Ravindran sir and Amitabh ji has mentioned, you have to antivirus yourself. You have to choose, and you have to choose your boundaries. That's most important. So that, even if it has happened once, next time you can be more aware and not get into such traps. And yes, that is one side of it. At the other side, definitely we need to address this issue, be it as regards to taking it, with the cyber police, or at a social level with awareness. We definitely need to work on it. So I feel there has to be concrete measures taken on both aspects, both at a parent-child level, but as well as a society. We need to become aware. We need to find more answers, because unless and until we do that, because as Rohil sir has rightly said, this is just the beginning. The laws are very, very new. We are entering a digital age. We are, there are so many things that are happening every day. So, keeping yourself, how to deal with this, how to understand how to deal with this. We actually need more sessions. We need more expert opinions, and we need to have more discussions so that, we are able to place ourselves, which course we need to follow rightly.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
And I'll just add one more line here that, you know, you all should not feel depressed about anything as to what is happening on the social media. And you should have somebody to be able to confide in and talk to. It can be your parent, it can be a teacher, it can be a friend, it can be anybody. But that talking it out is very, very, very important. Please ensure that you don't feel depressed and you don't let that affect your system.
I have only one thing to tell to the children. If I am permitted to talk for just 30 seconds.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's food for thought. 3 questions I wanted to put across to my children who are here. Number 1, whenever you download an app, do you really, before you agree, do you read all the conditions which they are laying out? You answer to yourself. I don't want any answer. That includes me also. Nobody reads what is there. We just keep on going on, agreeing for everything. Then we complain. They have pushed into us our personal life. You agreed. Number 1. Number 2, when TikTok on date, TikTok is the topmost app across the globe. America has banned, Europe has banned. You all know that TikTok is drawing so much of data from your personal life. Why are you still sticking it to with TikTok and doing all sorts of things? Think about it. And third one, whenever you go into a website, do you really check the URL address properly? For example, Google has 2 O's, Google. I have come across a URL where GOOGLE is also there. That is a phishing website. How many of you really check the URL? These are the 3 questions I wanted to ask to you. You answer to us. And I believe in prevention, since my mandate as a police officer is prevention and the detection of crime. So first, I believe in prevention. This is all I wanted to tell you. Thank you.
The 3 pointers of introspection. Thank you so much, sir. So before we kind of come to the end of this evening's discussion, I would like to thank every panelist here this evening. That please understand that this is just a beginning of a series that YMI has planned. Just by one conversation, I don't think that we'll be able to find solutions and implement them. But of course, conversation is important, discussion is important as a starting step. We have Shinjan Mitra here with us from Script Production. Shinjan, we have heard the entire panelists, we have heard what they had to tell us. What I want to ask you, Shinjan, is that being a theater production outfit, being a youth production outfit, someone who is leading a group of young people, I'm sure these are kind of things that you often have to deal with as well. Very recently here in Calcutta, unfortunately, we had a young theater group who kind of, they were doing very well. We were really very happy about the kind of work that they were doing. And suddenly we kind of got to hear about certain information, certain news, which was shocking about how some young girls came in front and they said that, how they felt betrayed by some of their colleagues. What I want to ask you, Shinjan, is that going by whatever solutions that we have discussed, especially going by what Mr. Ravindran had told us, what Mr. Ruhail Chaudhary had shared with us, will you as a pioneering leader, with you as someone having a young theatre group with you, will you take up the responsibility of trying to see to it that we can come and implement some of the thoughts that we have discussed, so that we do not have another Moyuki who will say that I am really scared to make a post on Facebook, so that she feels she is in a safe and secure space. Over to you, Shinjan.
Thank you, TC. So before I start, I really need to say and inform everyone that probably after Moyuki, I am the second youngest in this lot to talk, and I am pretty sure that there are expertise and teachers and psychologists and principals and people who can actually influence a lot to the youth have already spoken about it. But I'll take some bits and pieces from what different people spoke and just try and come up with some solution. Now, Ravi sir rightly mentioned that in the southern states, the police is working on this entire internet issue. Now, web is a boon for us, definitely, but it is also the dark side of it, and we have to accept that. But Mohan sir rightly mentioned that, you know, like more than those bad people out there, there are comparatively good people in the ratio is much more higher. Well, honestly speaking, I think the solution that one can put up to the government, to somebody from the state, is this: that today in our state, I'll speak with regard to West Bengal and Calcutta. All right. I think, and Bombay to a certain extent, because I am staying for my masters there right now. So probably that the police there should realize and understand that the youth today is always onto a phone, on a device, on social media, on web. Instead of providing the number only onto the websites, which the youth also might be, I mean, unfortunately might find boring, they can also use the social media platform to flash numbers needed in terms of emergency. When we travel in metros, when we travel in, you know, like public transports and everywhere during all this, Durga Puja or maybe in Ganesh Chaturthi in Bombay, we have posters and hoardings and everything written women helpline number or, you know, child helpline number. But these hoardings are something which people are seeing on an outdoor platform. Right now, when we are quarantined, when we're sitting back at home, I feel the authorities and people who are in power should make it a point that they can put something like this on social media for people like us, for the youth like us to cater to understand well and, you know, take help from that. Now, having said that, I also understand that when Ravi sir rightly mentioned about the fact that, you know, one is bringing a child or somebody who is affected by the web, and I can see a few questions which are also regarding the same here, that what happens now. I don't think that I am, you know, like enough to answer that, but what I actually think is this: that is here in Calcutta or, you know, be there in Bombay, they are the ones who needs to be groomed first. They are the ones who is rightly needed to understand how to talk to a youth. You need to understand that somebody has come to you with a problem. You need to understand that somebody is here because he or she is panicked because of something that is out on social media. You need to understand that, and you need to behave, you know, in a really proper way to you know, like to come up with practical and suitable solutions which will act as a first aid to the kid who is right there in front of you, rather than being a normal Hindi film hero or villain. I mean, it's all right to, you know, take it out and, handle it responsibly, but it also depends on the way you talk. Now, coming to the point that you mentioned about the youth group. Now, well, the thing is that we all know about, I at least know in Calcutta as of now, 1 or 2 youth groups who have been accused of this. Now, it's not because that I am running a youth group, but it also becomes important. And if there are people who are hearing us out, it's out to all of them that if you are running a youth group, you need to understand that you are working with young minds. You're working with minds which will shape tomorrow. You're working with something which will create a future. So you really need to shape that well. It's like a soft clay, and you really need to shape that well so that it, like today, if my education was not right, proper, or any one of us would have been, not properly groomed or educated about what we are talking today, we wouldn't have been here sitting for 1 hour and, trying to bring up solutions which we have been speaking. So I think I'll rest my case there. I'll just to the audience, and I'll just request all of them and the youth, and Mayuki, since she is still in school, and Sunita ma'am is here, principal of one of the reputed schools, and all of you who deals with students, that please also when it comes to extracurricular, when it comes to theater, when it comes to films, or when it comes to as Nivedita ma'am also rightly mentioned about the media and communication that wants to take it up as a passion, we should groom our students, our young generation, to choose the right thing, to understand, to go through a background check before even allowing somebody to get into the web or to get into something which might be, today one group might be super famous on social media, but that doesn't restrict that owner or the founder or the people who are managing that group to be equally, equally good for that matter. So one needs to be really careful. And now the greatest gift that we have, that all of us rightly mentioned, is the gift of choice. So we need to cater to that. We need to stick to that. And I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to get this out. Get out of this and try and make the future better.
Thank you so much, Sanjay.
TC, can I say something just to Mayuki?
Yes, please. Go ahead. Yes, please.
So Mayuki, I just want you to know, can you hear me?
Mayuki,
yes, ma'am, I can.
Can you hear?
Yeah. So the thing is that while we were going through this and hearing all of this, that you can never shut the misogynist boys or the ones who pass lewd comments, but you must know that you should have a competent protector that you go to whenever you go through something like that. Because we are not in control of the turbulence outside of us, but we definitely know that there is a pilot out there that we can go to when we experience some turbulence. And I cannot emphasize more on parental attachment and parental relationship, because those, whatever the parent means, whether it's not the parent, whether it's a competent protector, that I know that I can turn towards somebody when things outside get too rough. Because sometimes we do things compulsively because of a lack of attachment. So I really feel like, don't get scared about putting yourself out there. Just be sure that when you do put yourself out there and something like this happens, you have somewhere to turn to and something to go to. That I feel is more important.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Kanak. You're saying something.
Yeah, so I'm just adding on to what Alaukika was also saying. Now, once you've identified a person who's a predator or anyone who's caused mischief online, that's one part of the problem. Once you've blocked their IDs, you've identified, that's one part of the problem. Till you take that person for counseling, you will not be going forward towards a solution. The second part of the solution, TC, that we should be looking at is parents tend to get very, very defensive when the child commits a mistake. Parents tend to get very defensive that mere bete ne ye kaam nahi kiya ya meri beti ne ye galti nahi ki. If your child has made the mistake, I want to say this to all parents, all educators out there. If your child has made a mistake, don't disown the child. That's when the child needs most love, because the child has just been ousted, right? So that's when they need most love. That's when they need most guidance and accept it. Yes, a mistake has been made. Let's correct them now. Let's not just label them a criminal for the rest of their lives.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And adding to that, there is psychopathology only comes up due to a lack of attachment conscience. And the attachment conscience comes from the relationship that I have with my parent. Psychopathology comes much later. So if I don't have a moral compass, I'm not going to be ambivalent about things. I'm just going to indulge in them. So I cannot stress the importance of the relationship with the parent, taking from Ms. Sen's thing also. It is the foundation for everything that we build on.
I would like to further extend and add for Mayuki's reference and people at her age reference. One of the challenges that we have in such situation is the victim is the one who further keeps on suffering even afterwards. It's the predator who keeps on moving, and we start getting into that guilt. So you need to understand that society has moved on in a big way, and there's a lot of understanding that has come in. And if you are suffering, you should not suffer in silence. You should communicate so that you can get the right advice to deal with it. Because operating from a victim position yourself and suffering in that guilt is going to be one of the biggest mistakes. That is what encourages the predator to continue on doing the in his or her indulgence even more, because they feel they are safe, because the victim suffers in silence, and that is where raising the voice is important.
TC, I'll just add something. Since Mayuki is in class 12, and I also feel that people who are moving out of school and or graduation for that matter, and trying and planning to move out to any other city, well, guys, one thing that we need to understand, something which happened with me when I moved out of Calcutta and went to Bangalore for my grads, is that there comes a situation when you actually feel that you were a fish of a pond, and right now you are in the ocean. It doesn't really matter. I mean, this is not because you know less than any other kid of your class if you are moving outside, or it is not that you are any less smarter than those kids. It is just that what understanding we take from our home, what understanding we take from the school that we are coming from, what understanding we take about the society in general. Something I've seen a lot of people who always wants to stick to their flock, their group. That's not really something that one should do. From a young age, schools should try and motivate students to go and learn from others as well about certain things which today I'm good in singing. I sing Bengali songs, but if tomorrow my friend is singing a Tamil song, I won't really go and say, oh no, I don't listen to Tamil songs. I'm just sticking myself to Bengali. No, here the idea is to increase my knowledge about music. I'm just trying to cite an example. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. So with that regard, Mayuki, and to all the students who are hearing us out, please have an open mind. Please, at the same time, be well informed about everything that's happening around you. Keep your eyes and ears open. And if you feel anything which Nivedita ma'am rightly mentioned, I wanted to speak that time, but which Nivedita ma'am rightly mentioned, the first point of discomfort that you feel, you always have the option to block. Thanks.
TC, can I just add one very small point? Just a very small point, but I think it's very important before we end. That now with this lockdown and corona and everything, the way things are going, it is for sure that even much smaller children will also get exposed to this use of internet and other social platforms, cyber platforms. Even we are seeing children of age of 5, 6, 7 are also using, or they have to use now for their studies and other purposes, online classes. So the risk was anyways there. It is all the more increasing now. So very basic do's and don'ts should be created, especially for the smaller children, below 10 years age, who are also now by choice they have to use. There is no other choice. They have to use the social media. So for the smaller kids, or even for 11, 12, 13, there should be the schools, the parents should definitely find out proper do's and don'ts. That is a very basic thing required. And that educating the small children, because most of them have not attained the age where they would be matured enough to understand the risk very well. Very simple thing, they should not be allowing their devices, mobile phones, laptops, they should never be sharing with other friends. A very big concern is, whenever there is a crime, police investigation agencies are always tracking the IP address. So it is assumed the owner of the device is the person who has committed the crime. Now a 10-year, 12-year, 13-year or 15-year child, if he shares his mobile or laptop with another friend and he commits a crime, the innocent boy or his parents will go through immense problem. Maybe 3 years, 4 years down the, later on when the crime is actually caught. And they may not actually remember 3 years or 4 years, 4 months or 3 months back, whom they have shared their devices with. It's just a small example. Even another very common, problem that the small children are facing, younger students are facing, are, when they are having very close friendship with other children of their age, they often knowingly, unknowingly, or for whatever reason, they share their private photographs, which is absolutely a no. These kind of, because today one person may be a friend's friend you don't know, a friend's friend's friend could be a very dangerous guy. So who will use what is extremely important. And a young child may not be mature enough to understand all these complexities. So it is very important for schools. Most of the schools, or a lot of schools, are taking this subject very seriously and they are dealing, but definitely not all schools. So my request to all school authorities, each and every parents, is to find out these basic do's and don'ts. They are definitely available on the web also. Find out the basic do's and don'ts and educate your children in school or at home. This is very important. Thank you.
I'm truly sorry about this. For all of a sudden, like I had to log out, and then it's the device that is acting up. What I'd like to know from Mayuki is that how this conversation that we have been having here, the discussion that we have been having here, how fruitful has it been for you? You can kind of tell us if there is anything that you would like to discuss with any one of the panelists over here. Anything else that you would like to kind of like ask any of the panelists here? As I told you that it is not very practical. It is not a pragmatic solution to kind of think that in just one discussion we'll be able to solve all problems. But addressing them is also a step forward. So yes, I mean, like, did this evening's discussion help you in any manner? Yes, Mayuki, go ahead.
Okay. Right. So what I was saying is that I think this discussion was extremely insightful. It was informative. It summed up a lot of different perspectives, not only for me, but like me. It would be beneficial to everyone who is using social media, be it parents who will perhaps it's better if this conversation continues on, not only through us, but everyone who's heard this, perhaps have a conversation later on at your own homes, with parents with your children, children with your parents. So I think it's a wonderful platform that is provided by ma'am through the organization Ye Mera India, and so many people joined us. It was wonderful to be here. Another thing is that it did solve a lot of queries, and to sum it up, it was taking judicious decision that you're proud of, being confident, being extremely informed in what you're doing, because you're doing it on such a vast platform such as the internet. And lastly, knowing and being informed about the helplines and the sources that there is help out there. You have to be informed about it. So we came up with rather lucrative solutions right here. And I think it's beneficial to everybody. So it's not a question, again, of being scared to put out anything. It's a question about it's your decision. You have to make it. And you have to be informed and judicious about it. That's it.
Thank you so much, Mayuki. That really sums up what we were actually discussing. And if you have found this informative enough, and when I say you, I mean that you are actually representing a body here. You're representing your friends here. You're representing your acquaintances here who have been kind of feeling threatened about certain incidents, about certain situations. And if we have in this evening's conversation have made even kind of slightest difference, then I think that to a large extent, at least this attempt is successful. However, just one thing that I would like to tell you, and I will request you to please circulate this information among your friends, that just in case, God forbid, you ever feel threatened or you feel that you are victimized and you are at the receiving end, or maybe not even victimized, but you are the victim who's facing the trauma, just know for a fact that we are here at YMI, at Ye Mera India. I had mentioned about Shenzhen and the script production. I promise you that in our own reach, in whatever limited resources that we have, we will ensure that there is safety, there is security, and of course, trauma cannot easily be eased. I can't kind of like make fake promises here, but at least a solution to some sort of a problem which could be grave in nature. I just promise you that we will definitely do our best to ensure that.
I think we have lost TC, sir.
While Tathagata is trying to come, I would only say that beautiful, courageous, and positive Ye Hai Mera India.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. And I would like to really thank each of you from the bottom of my heart for coming forward for this discussion. It really means a lot, because the question that we were addressing was for the youth, and they are our next generation. We need to be there for them at every step, because unless and until their questions are answered, our future will not be stable enough. So thank you everyone, each and everyone, Sunita ma'am, Alokika ji, Amitabh ji, Shinjan sir, Ruhail sir, Kanak sir, Ravindran sir, each of you. I'm really very, very thankful. And there is a small token of like gratitude that I would like to offer to you. Like, since we are on virtual medium, so there isn't anything physically that I can give you, but just a small badge of honor that we have prepared specially for each of you. So I would just like to share it with you. So just we will just have our I'd just like to share it once on the screen, please. Adrija, are you there? Can you just share it for us, please? So thank you, Alokika ma'am. Thank you so much. Your presence and the way you answered the questions, it really meant a lot. Thank you so much, ma'am. Adrija, can we have all the screens, please? Yeah. You can just put it one after the other. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Amitabh Mohan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This also is a learning for me today that this can also be done virtually.
I'm going to certainly mail it to each of you, but I just wanted to share it with you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Kanak Gupta. I have heard so much about you from TC sir, and as Sarita ma'am was saying, that I'm looking forward to have a lot more discussions on you in regards to education, the way you need to bring about, a positive impact in the society through education. So I would definitely be connected with you very soon again, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Mayuki, for bringing us all together.
Thank you so much for giving me this platform and entertaining my request. I think it was very informative to everyone involved.
Thank you. Thank you for being so proactive and coming forward for a cause, bringing forward this question. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. This is Nivedita Bhattacharya. I'm sure, like it was wonderful listening to you, your personal experience, your personal story that you shared about little girls apprehensive of, coming out and being allowed to do what they really pursue and want to do. So, it was really wonderful hearing you, ma'am. And I'm looking forward to having wonderful sessions with you also in future. Mr. Rohil Chaudhary, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for organizing such a nice event. It was my pleasure also being there. And
what all information you gave to us, it was really commendable. We really needed to know about this. We know that laws are there, but unless and until we know about them, we cannot make the best out of them. So thank you for making us aware about them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sir, I can't thank you enough. Ravindran sir, thank you so much for being there. And what all you have shared is, I'm sure it's going to be something that we all need to really introspect on. And the three major points that you've really asked us to think about, I feel every individual, not just youngsters, but even we as internet users, each of us need to really think hard about them. Frankly speaking, I've never followed either of any of the three. We just go randomly, yes, yes, yes. We never check the URLs, and we really need to do it. Thank you so much for making us aware.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
It's a very proud moment for me to share the same space with Kanak and TC. Actually, I am feeling very, very proud. And thank you for bringing me in, and salute to Ye Mera India.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I have few more.
Sorry, I'm just interrupting. Ma'am Sen, thank you so much for shaping us the way you have. We are a reflection of what you taught us growing up. Thank you for everything, ma'am.
I still remember your 90 during for the ISC examinations. So I'm very, very proud of you. And I'm even more proud because you have taken to education and you are also imparting education. And that's the real kind of education I think I have been able to impart to you. So I'm very happy and very proud. And not to mention, TC has been very, very close to my heart. Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am, I can completely resonate. It feels so good when you see the children you've shaped up. You've tried to shape up, and when they come out they bloom them into such beautiful personalities. That I can really understand how affectionate and how proud you must be feeling. Thank you for sharing this with us.
Thank you.
And Shinjin, thank you so much. As TC sir has rightly said, whatever we've discussed here, since you are one of the youth mentors, youth icons, I now leave it on you to take it further on and spread it amongst the youth. Because since you are with them, they are with you all the time. So please take this message across. Make youth aware. Make them aware about.
I'll try my best to mentor all the juniors, my fellow mates, whoever I can. And since Sunita ma'am and Kanak sir is here, I would also, ma'am, sir, make a small request that after this lockdown gets over and in case there is a chance, I would really want to come down to the institution one day and speak to the students regarding any doubts that they have to.
Most welcome. Most welcome.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. Any day. Please come. Please come.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think I've thanked Mr. Amitabh Goel. Thank you so much for being there, sir. I think we need a biggest thanks to TC, sir. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Tathagat Chaudhary. Thank you, sir, for, conducting this, moderating this, initiating this for us. I guess this really needed to be addressed. And thank you for having all of us on board and really conducting this session in such a beautiful manner. There are a lot more things I need to thank you for as well. So I guess my thank you list is going to be really, really long for you. But really, thank you so much for being there, sir. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.